consumers hate video advertising. It's broken, it's horrible, it gets in the way of trying to watch something, and very rarely is it relevant, and you're just looking for the skip now button, the close button, and get it out of the way. So it's a necessary evil for publishers to make money, but it's a horrible experience, and we deserve better. I absolutely hate it, and I run the company, and I own the company, and we're going to fix it. That's what we do. So that's Coull's mission, is to fix really crappy video advertising. And where does that start? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about how well we're doing at that little mission so far. So we're growing really rapidly. We're based in Bristol. There's 31 of us there. We've got 6 in London. We've got offices in New York, Santa Barbara in California, and San Francisco. We are growing publishers rapidly. I think we'll end up with about, last month we did about 2 billion video plays through our platform. This month we'll end up with about 6 billion video plays through our platform, and we'll end the year doing about 1 billion a day through the platform. So the growth is pretty rapid right now. It's growing rapidly because what we do adds value to the publishers. We're the publisher's friend. We deliver incremental revenue. We don't buy traffic, we don't buy views, they give it to us. We add value to it, and then we sell the media on top of it. So we plug into programmatic demand partners, and we then sort of leverage the data that we've got of the video content and then serve a relevant ad. So really easy for publishers, brand new money, existing assets, why not? So it's a pretty simple pitch. Even my 7-year-old daughter could do it, as I keep telling the sales team. So the key really is content. Right now advertisers are buying video ads. Most of them don't know what the content is that they're buying the ad on. They know the page, they're trying to guess the user, they know the site maybe, site, page, user, geographic, a few other little bits, but they don't normally know what the content is, which seems a bit weird for me. So we come at it the complete opposite way. So what we do is analyze the content, totally agnostic to player. I don't care what the video player is. We look at the data signals that come out for the content. So if it's a Bayern Munich soccer video being watched in Germany on an Android handset, then we sort of pretty much know that maybe putting an Adidas ad on there could be contextually relevant and useful to the consumer. So by segmenting that audience based on the content, then we get a huge amount of value from that. And that means that by indexing these videos, putting them into an IAB standard sort of taxonomy, plugged into a programmatic world that we've all been hearing about today, it means buyers can see more and therefore making more informed decisions on what it is that they're buying. And programmatic is enabling us to build a global business. 180 markets right now built out of Bristol. I'm very proud that you can build a global business out of Bristol. I live there, so I can walk to work, which is fantastic. The programmatic allows us to do that. And for me, I'm old enough to have lived through the sort of trading desk big bang in the city, which moved to algorithms and data. And we're at the early stages of that in sort of advertising. Data is the key to the adoption of programmatic. Why programmatic has been in video a little slower to take off than some other areas is because some publishers are nervous that exposing inventory actually drives value down in a programmatic environment. And of course it's going to if you can't index it from a data perspective. If you're showing limited data sets to advertisers, they're going to take the lowest price. What you need is a richer data set and therefore differentiate between quality content and valuable inventory and not valuable inventory. There are 150 million downloads of ad blocker, and in the age demographic of 18 to 25, there's a very high percentage of people who use ad blocker. They use it because it's a shit experience of going online and trying to enjoy content. People want to block those ads. As an industry, it's something that we have to fix. And they won't put up, the consumer isn't going to tolerate a poor experience on mobile. And mobile is where it's at. In terms of our platform, it's absolutely exploding. The amount of video views on mobile, and it's not going to, with iPhone 6 and all the others, it's not going anywhere other than up. So you have to deliver, as an industry, we've got to deliver a better ad experience on mobile phones. You can't have things popping up, shouting at you, 2-minute pre-roll in front of a 30-second bit of content. The value exchange isn't there. It's just a horrible experience. And what you need to do is do that in a cookieless environment, because obviously cookies don't work on mobiles. Content data gathering does, though. So you can actually gather data on the content and deliver the right advert in the right location at the right time on the video that somebody's about to watch. And you can do that in a way that doesn't have to be pre-roll. You can have a little 20-second overlay, contextually relevant on the video. All of that can be driven by the result of data and using data effectively. Basically, it starts with data. When you've got data, you can do whatever you like. The actual design of the ad, we're agnostic. I don't really care. With data, it drives value. Value for the consumer, value for the publisher, and value for the advertiser. And those three people need to be engaged, those three parties. We talk too much about the value for publishers and the values for advertisers and revenue streams and profit margins. We don't do enough as an ad industry to focus on the consumer. And I think that we can do, there's more work to be done, but I think that's where the focus needs to be. And programmatic gives us the scale. So, we've got all things lining up to enable us as a business to really make a difference. And we're pushing really hard to do that. Thank you very much.
I'm going to talk a bit about brand loyalty in the modern world in the context of data, programmatic, and so on. So the premise for our business is really that we see that the bricks and mortar in terms of traditional business and .com necessarily isn't always well connected, right? So what happens in the FMCG space is that consumers, they figure out things on their own. They create their own path to purchase. They generate that through, someone talked about the customer experience being disjointed, and we get signals from so many different places. And consumers, what they do, they make up that in their own mind, right? And then they go to the shop and they buy stuff, not necessarily knowing exactly how and why they came to that conclusion always, right? And then we think what really happened here, we did a great advertising, we had fantastic creative, and we spent a lot of money in the right channels, we had programmatic, and we tried to think about omni-channel, and the end result means that the consumer walks out with the wrong product, wrong brand. So what if then in an FMCG space that could be fueled by shopper data, so that we actually know a bit more about the consumer before they are, and we're helping them lead them their way to the right product. Back on mobile. Mobile is influencing a lot of the decisions we make in the grocery sector. So 17 billion of the total in-store shopping is driven by mobile today. Now that's great, but it's also a bit challenging, and we talk about mobile here as a powerful channel. But if you're a brand, that's really an excellent channel as a brand in FMCG to influence the consumer. So using mobile in a direct way, influence behavior, because it's in their pockets, it's everywhere, anytime, and driving that purchase across to the store, making sure that purchase is my brand, not my competitors. 95% of all grocery shopping happens in real stores. Only 5% is e-commerce. We talk a lot about digital being, we can measure and we can attribute, we can look at how people are engaging in various ways in banner advertising or search and so on and so forth, and then they go online and buy. But how do we make sure that people can buy, we can understand what happens in the offline world? So Shopitize, we're an online to offline business, and we are in the grocery sector, and we help consumers find the right brands. Mass reach, we are building scale. We are launching in the UK and Australia with millions of users. We're highly targeted because our whole business is based upon the premise that the more we understand about the individual shopper, the better we can service their needs and their relevance, but also the brand's needs. It's a new generation technology. It's based upon mobile distribution of content, but it's also driven by a solid kind of data park, understanding attribution, understanding what consumers really do. The power is really in what we say the receipt. So our business is based upon a premise that we can understand what's on the shopping receipt. So a consumer would go to a shop, engage with brands, go to a shop, buy their products. When they come home, they scan the receipt. We lift all our information and building a shopper profile. We use that profile for a number of different things. We can then start targeting consumers in the right way. We can use that shopper data to inform a lot of different touch points, just not, in this case, I'm showing us a URL app. Now, because mobile is in my pocket, someone said it's never within 2 feet away or 2 meters away from me. I have my mobile with me at any time. we know that there's also contextual opportunities here. So we can use the mobile opportunity to target people when they travel, when they're about to shop. If they are a convenience shopper that buys all the lunch packages and 10 o'clock in the morning, we would know that, and we can service the right information and the right brands to them at that time. If they're weekend shoppers, they have a big family, lots of cats, 3 minutes. My blimey, thank you. So rapid response, trigger-based marketing, and agility to test and learn. We're a young company. We've spent 2 years building this platform, testing with consumers. So we have 140,000 shoppers that has been helping us to shape our product. We worked with 9 leading brands in FMCG last year to shape the offering. We have extremely high customer satisfaction. Our churn is really low. It's less than 5%. 9 out of 10 consumers say that this is great, it's really relevant to me, and I'm going to recommend it to friends and family. We have analyzed 1.8 million purchases in our 188,000 baskets over 6 months. Anyway, so how is this relevant to this meeting today? Minding I have only 2 minutes left, right? So the type of data we capture is things like shopper insights, retailer insight, category, and how our brand's programs are doing. So some cool applications we can do. When we have a confirmed purchase, we know that this gentleman here is a Coke drinker, that gentleman over there is a Pepsi drinker. We can now deploy different strategies across different channels. So we have different shopping missions, such as weekend lunch, dinner, events, weather, World Cup final, your sport in a category. All that can help us understand a bit more about the shopper. We can then pick the right channels for our campaigns. We can deploy and we can work in different channels, where it's been paid, as we talk about here a lot, but also earned, shared, and owned media, which is the other type of digital we haven't spoken so much about today. So I now have an opportunity to target my audience with different messages, different times, different channels, with different opportunities. And I can also change my offers based upon what I want to achieve with that particular customer. So there's no point in, if I'm brand A here, target my confirmed loyalists for brand B. They will never switch to my brand, doesn't matter how much discounts I give them. I wouldn't spend a lot of money with my own loyal customers. I would do other things to them rather than giving them discounts on my products. So in terms of the discussion here, it's been a lot about programmatic buying and using data to fuel those discussions. So what we are doing now as a next step in our evolution of our business is to look at how our shopper data, which is starting to become quite significant, can enhance customer profiles that you guys in MediaMath and other businesses are collecting through cookies and so on and so forth, right? We talked about Teradata here, sitting on CRM data for large companies. We can overlay shopper data on the top of that, and that can be quite an interesting proposition for an FMCG brand to target customers across multiple touch points. So next step for us is we're building the business, we're scaling the business. This is some of the timelines. We launched it in the UK and Australia, and we're now looking for partners. If you're an agency or a brand, come to us. We have lots of cool things we can do for brands in terms of targeting, engagement, new engagement models, and so on. If you're a media partner, work with us to better monetize your audience. Thank you so much.
Content for the 21st century. Creating advertising has been around, creating films for brands to be used in the always-on platform. Always-on world of digital is becoming more and more important. But how can you get enough content to work in a programmatic way? Try to be disruptive, try to be controversial, they said, so we called it Walking on the Dinosaurs. Wrong museum, I'm sorry. It's close. It came from a Harvard Business Review blog last year about the great festival of advertising and creativity in Cannes, which was all about the dinosaurs. And interesting this year, which was all about how that has changed, and we get a name check nicely alongside Spotify to say it is changing. So how is it disrupting? How is it reinventing? This isn't the way the creative agencies talk about us. This is the difference between us and perhaps the creative agencies. For what you get to a brand, the community of a crowdsourced offering can offer something that is faster, fresher, and at a fraction of the cost. Neat, it sounds. Faster in the sense that start to finish can be done in 3 months. Fresher, because we wouldn't sell you at least 1 or 2 ads a year, we would actually sell 5 from 50, and I'll show you an example in a moment. And a fraction of the cost is it's usually less than 6 figures to produce the kind of quality I'm about to show you. Sorry, curated is the strategic difference in terms of making sure that a brief, which is important to a brand, is the right way to set a structure. So a filmmaker who is out there in the world, we have 60,000 filmmakers in the community, luckily none on the books, and they have access to the briefs so that they make the films for the brands. So in a crowdsourced way, the way it works is a brand agrees a brief, it posts the brief to the community, the brief is downloaded, a filmmaker makes a film on his own dollar, uploads the film, we share a finished film after 2 months with the brand, and they get to pick 5. The community is fantastic, and every one of those films is cleared for online and mobile use in perpetuity forever. So these days, I got an iPhone, got a Mac, you can now shoot and make a film for broadcast in your bedroom. The difference between the way it used to be in the 20th century, which was the broadcast, tell your message, it's now shared by storytelling. You can't engage unless you tell a story. 3 examples to bringing this to life. The first, Rolo, hasn't been on air, yet everyone knows about the idea for, or used in any kind of content creation or advertising since 1999. And we posted a brief to update this. The brand received 55 films. Here's one of them to bring it to life. So every film first has to be strategically relevant to the brand. That's why the brief works. Secondly, we have 60,000 people all over the world, which means that when Guinness want to make a film for Africa to show why Africans are made of more, which was the strategic idea for the campaign, we can execute that film in Nigeria. We have filmmakers in Nigeria who can tell a story about what makes Africans made of more or Nigerians made of more. In that country, the idea was they come to life after the lights go out because there are power cuts 4 to 5 times a day. So that turned into a very nice story. So that, if it's strategically relevant for the brand, it can therefore be socially relevant for the country or the geography. I'd just like to share one thing, which brought it back to Cannes, which is the only way to get people engaged is to now, these days, as we start looking forward, is to make it culturally relevant. And part of that is to be, which we do for a lot of brands, is to be open and not closed. So we collaborate with partners all around the world, the same way as we collaborate with our community to tell the filmmakers to tell the stories they want to tell for the brands. And that was me walking on a dinosaur. Thank you.
Captify is a digital ad tech business that specializes in search retargeting. We're 3 years old. We have 45 staff with our headquarters in Covent Garden and overseas offices in Hamburg and Kiev. We're a British business that was self-funded until last year when we took £1.2 million investment from Panoramic Growth Equity and a £500,000 investment from a private investor. We're very fortunate to have been experiencing rapid growth over the last 3 years. We've had triple-digit growth year on year. We've been working with hundreds of the world's largest brands. So Captify essentially is riding the crest of a triple wave. The first being the fact that digital is on the rise, traditional advertising is suffering, and all the spend is going into digital. The next area being display, and obviously display is on the rise. You saw earlier a couple of stats about how display is overtaking search for the first time. And this is largely fueled by programmatic and RTB, giving everyone more control. And we would say that Captify and search retargeting is the fastest growing segment of programmatic and RTB. So what exactly do we do? Captify search retargeting. So essentially, search retargeting is a technology that allows us to display advertising to users based on their recent searches. The idea of this is that we are sitting at the intersection between the 2 largest sections of advertising, digital advertising, being search and display. So search, we're able to harness the accuracy of search, and we're able to combine that with the sheer scale of display advertising. So here's an example of how it actually works. A prospect actually makes a search. We actually gather that. That could be on a search engine or on a on-site search box. That search is then matched with our advertiser list. And a good example of this might be someone typing in flights to Paris. Once that user has made the search on the search engine, we would then match that up with our advertiser list, which could be someone like British Airways who are looking to target users who have searched for flights to Paris. So when that user then leaves the search engine, goes on any website online, we will bid in real time to serve a relevant ad to that user based on the search they've just made. So the reason we've hit a sweet spot with agencies, and we sell to agencies, not just advertisers direct, but mainly an agency-facing business, is that we have a product that basically works at all stages of the funnel. All advertisers can work with Captify for different types of reasons, and that's shown by our client list. But we're able to bring in new customers, new prospects for advertisers, but also make them convert at the tip of the funnel. The way we actually target at different stages of the funnel is multiple ways, but the main way is actually targeting keywords. Keywords, for instance, could be focused around a brand. They could also be focused around a competitor. But it can also be down to a product level, and this enables us to push the user down the purchase funnel towards conversion. So we are doing this with advertisers across all verticals. This is what is excellent about it. It's essentially focusing about intent. So if there is an advertiser that is in travel, if there's an advertiser that is in gaming, anyone that is intent, it is relevant. However, we have a different way of marketing to different users in different verticals, but not just in verticals, in sectors of verticals as well. A good example would be somebody who is typing in flowers into search engine. We find they could be actually ready to purchase within 7 minutes. This is a consideration phase. It's very short, and we have to market in a certain way to get to that user and make them convert. Very different in contrast to an advertiser that is looking for a packaged holiday. It could be 3 weeks, it could be 6 weeks. Ultimately, our technology, we have to understand the different patterns that users express in different segments, but it's actually completely customized for the actual individual advertiser. Lastly, we have to identify how much intent is actually being shown. What is the propensity to convert? So if it's someone types in Ferrari, are they actually going to buy a Ferrari? Are they even going to have a test drive? Is a good chance that user is just looking at photos of Ferraris. So we have to use semantic analysis and look at all the other variables around a user to identify whether that user is worth serving an ad to. So the ultimate question is, how are Captify actually disrupting this space? How are we actually disrupting digital media? We say in 3 ways. Right now, first of all, you need to have a differentiated product. Otherwise, you will not get any money from anyone. And also, our product is in a market that is scaling all the way. So we have to identify our position and be very sure about our position in the ecosystem. So the spend starts with advertisers. They give it to agencies. They then have, at the moment, there's a lot of consolidation on the media plans. They've kicked everyone off. The only way you stay on the media plan is by having USPs, and we have 3. So we have a unique data network. This is our first USP. We have basically built a data network of sites where we're aggregating billions of search keywords from around the world with a timestamp, and this is all coming into our DMP, and we're crunching it. That's the next point, is our unique technology. Search retargeting technology is not available out of a box solution. We have to build our own DMP, our own decision-making engine to actually ingest all of these keywords, look at keyword connections, and serve an ad. And then lastly, we have a specialist team. Serving a search retargeting campaign is, unfortunately, as we heard earlier with the struggle for hires at the moment, it's a very specialist task. We are hired because we're the only people in Europe that actually know how to run search targeting campaigns properly. And that's shown by the talent that we're actually attracting from the likes of GroupM, Criteo, Microsoft, and Yahoo. So the next thing is that we are pushing technology boundaries. We actually have to compete against the largest players in the world, American ad tech companies that are hugely backed with VC money. And ultimately, our technology needs to be better than theirs. So we've had to build everything throughout the stack ourselves. And then we are combining it with search, with display. This is the 3rd way that we are disrupting the industry. No one right now has been able to bridge the gap between search and display. Search is by far the best indicator of intent, and display at the moment the segment that's on the rise. It has the scale, it has the ROI at the moment. So what's next for Captify? We are all in on mobile. We will continue to invest in our UK growth. And lastly, we are investing in our international expansion. Currently, we have offices in Hamburg and Kiev, as well as London, obviously. But it's very difficult to ignore the big pound signs that are cropping up in the RTB markets globally. Thank you.
I want to tell you a quick story, but before I do that, show of hands, how many people are familiar with native advertising? Great, most of the room. I'm sure if I asked all of you, you'd probably have very different definitions of what native actually means. I'd be surprised if any two are the same. So I want to seed a quick definition of how we're thinking about native before I kind of dive into the rest of this. So we say that native really matches the form and function of the environment in which it lives. The form being how it looks, you know, the text, the fonts, the colors, the overall design, and then the function being how it actually interacts and behaves within that environment. So that's kind of the rough idea where we're going to start. Before I get into that, Irfon mentioned earlier the rise of mobile, but I think it's really important to kind of start with what mobile is actually doing. And I think if you look at the modern internet, and this may be a mildly provocative statement, it's really all about feeds. And when I say feeds, I mean this idea of, you know, headlines, thumbnails, descriptions, all in this kind of one environment that as you scroll through, you're seeing more and more stories. And it's happening really across all platforms, in-app, desktop, mobile web. What's driving it is this concept of mobile. So this is actually a research report done on mobile traffic in the UK compared to desktop traffic. So I'll give you two guesses on which one's mobile, but this really maps to what we're seeing across all of our publishers. In the US, all publishers are pretty much 50% mobile traffic at this point, if not more. I think Gawker actually just spoke at a native summit we did in San Francisco a few months ago, and they're actually at 70% mobile, which is pretty impressive. But then if you look at the UK as well, this past year is where we actually saw mobile surpass. And what that means is that publishers are having to completely rethink the content consumption experience. I think if you remember, like the original iPhone ads, this idea of, you know, this isn't just mobile web, this is the web. As people started to get into the New York Times, they realized that I don't actually want to see every single column within that environment. This is too small a screen, it just doesn't work. So you've seen all the major publishers kind of starting from Facebook's lead, and now Twitter, Sky is doing it, Yahoo's doing it, switching to this feed-based environment, which fits the overall factor of the mobile screen and is just really designed for the overall psychological expectation as you come into to your smartphone. And what's really interesting is that this is now becoming the leading edge as far as overall content consumption design. All the desktop sites are now switching over to responsive, and it's really a mobile-first environment. The problem with that, and this is where that whole kind of disruption thing comes in, is that the old forms of monetization just don't work on mobile. Again, quick show of hands. How many times have you actually clicked on one of these banner ads actually trying to exit out, not see what it's doing? Okay, I think some of you are lying, but most of you are being honest. So, and the problem with that really is the fact that these environments, as I just mentioned, are designed for content. You're expecting to go in there and see, you know, a story. If you're on People, for example, you're expecting to see stories about, you know, new films, new music, new entertainment stories. You're not expecting to see a Mr. Juice ad or Supercam or anything like that. The opportunity here is that the content palettes for brands are massively expanding, where before you'd have to be doing these really high budget video productions. You're starting to see brands dabble with the social content platforms. You're seeing, you know, Vine, you're seeing Pinterest, you're seeing Instagram, it's almost micro content, but low budget, but high quality content experiences. You're also seeing them work with publishers to do sponsor editorial and that sort of thing. And what this means is that publishers are looking for a way to monetize content, and advertisers have content that they're trying to get outside of their kind of existing platforms. So what we've done is built a way for all types of content to end up in this placement. So if you wanted to grab, say you got a really strong PR review of your Samsung Galaxy Note, you could also plug that into the same environment. And There it is. And the beauty of this, though, is that we've built one-to-one technology relationships and integrations with our publishers. So, well, this is the Boing Boing unit, and it fits exactly what's happening on Boing Boing. If we wanted to look at people, now we have that same piece of content, but fit to the overall like people environment. So on the publisher side, this enables them to scale across their publisher portfolios. Time Inc. is a big partner of ours. They're able to take their sponsored content that they're selling and quickly scale across, their food or their entertainment or their lifestyle brands instantly. This is essentially a light version of what we do. But then from a brand perspective, it's a way for you to take all this vast swath of content that you're working with and distribute it across all the publishers. So if we could tap dance back real quick. And these are some of the publishers we work with. Sky is a big partners of ours. Here in the UK, we work with Time Inc., we work with Hearst, and they're all using our technology both to power their direct sold inventory, but also to monetize with all the brand content that I just showed you. I think that's slightly under time. Thank you.